It's a big day when the best-selling car in the country is brand new, like new. And you've probably seen other places gotten to drive it. We're one of the only ones where you're gonna see it go up against its competitors. This brand new RAV4 is way better than the one that it replaces. However, the real question is, can it keep up with its competitors? And we've got two great ones here today. This is the Honda CR-V, its natural competitor, and the second best-selling car in America. And we've also brought along this stylish underdog, the Kia Sportage Hybrid, a vehicle that we like a lot. Lots to cover today. We've been waiting for this one a long time. Let's get into it. We're Edmunds, and we test hundreds of cars each year on the road and at our private track, so you get the most trusted reviews. If you want to know which car, truck, or SUV is the best, then stick with us. Now the RAV4, it's always outsold the CR-V, but if you ask us, it's never actually been the better vehicle. But now, Toyota has a chance to flip the script. How many storage spaces does one man need? Well, for me, I will take all the ones you got. In this redesign, small item storage in the RAV4 is pretty exceptional. This big area here has kind of been split into two, so you actually get two separate shelves. Up here, the top one has the wireless charging pad, and on the top trim level, you're actually getting dual wireless charging pads, which is great. These are actually also pretty deep, so you can fit larger items, and of course, this being a Toyota, you're getting a very handy shelf in front of the passenger. But the most innovative thing, though, when it comes to small item storage is going to be this center console bin, because it opens in both directions. And not just that, you can actually take the thing out, and it's plastic on this side, so if you're gonna eat tacos in the car, you can do it on a surface that's easy to clean. Now, speaking of plastic, there is a bit more of it in this cabin than we would like. Some of the touch points, they do feel cheaper compared to the other vehicles that we have here. But you also have to keep in mind, this is an XLE. The other two SUVs you're going to see, those are top trim levels. So there are more expensive versions of the Toyota that have better materials, feel better, have more features. And for a mid-grade, it's not bad. It just, you look around, you kind of poke things, and it doesn't feel like it's as high quality as some competitors. That being said, we are fans of the new interior design of the RAV4. It's a big improvement over the old one. That thing felt really dated. This, it feels like modern Toyota, but in a good way. And I also like the ergonomics of everything. Stuff is pretty easy to reach. The control scheme of the new RAV4, we also like. They've resisted the temptation to put in a lot of haptic feedback and touch things. Like here on the steering wheel, you're getting all physical buttons and they're all labeled, which is great. Now the climate controls, they do partially live in the screen. So for example, if you want to do the heated seats or if you want to adjust the fan speed, you're gonna have to do all that through the screen, but at least for the temperature, you're getting buttons. Knobs are a little bit better, but that's being very nitpicky. I do like that everything up here is very easy to reach from either front seat. So if I sit back like I'm driving, I can easily reach the screen and all these buttons without having to lean forward. The technology in here is also thankfully much improved. Now, most trim levels, they're going to get this 10.5-inch touchscreen, but it is big enough that it doesn't feel like a penalty. On the top trim, you're getting a larger screen, but honestly, I don't think that you really need it. Now, housed within this screen is a brand new infotainment system from Toyota, and it doesn't really add a ton of features over the old one, but it just kind of looks better and feels cleaner, and I would say the screen feels a touch more responsive. I like that you get these kind of tab thingies. You didn't have a real home view on the last one. Of course, wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay are also standard on all trim levels, which is great. And the other thing that's standard that we really like, you actually get an integrated dash cam recorder. This is the only vehicle in this class to offer that kind of feature. And the fact that it's standard on all the RAV4s, really great there from Toyota. Now, I will say this, the maps, as good as they are, you have to watch out because they are going to require a data subscription. So voice commands and the maps, those are one data subscription. And if you want music streaming, that's another data subscription. And you don't even get a really big trial period to try them out, only 30 days. For most people, we would say just stick to wireless CarPlay and Auto. That'll get you through just fine. And speaking of those things, that leads me to what I think is actually the biggest tech leap for this vehicle. It's actually here in the instrument cluster. So if you're using Google Maps, let's say with Android Auto as I am, I can actually now mirror that view here in the cluster. I get the whole map view with all the directions and everything else. And that again frees up the screen to be used for whatever else I want to. This kind of innovative stuff really makes a quality of life difference if you're going to be using this car every day. One more catch though, because there's always a catch with these tech things. If you are using CarPlay, you can only mirror Apple Maps here. If you're using Android Auto, you can use Google Maps. They just don't like to play nice together, do they? Charging options are also great here in the RAV4. You've got the wireless charging pad here. You've got dual 45-watt USB-C charge ports here. And if you need it, there's even a third USB-C port here in the bin. You can just plug in all your phones. When it comes to comfort, these front seats, they're okay, but what I do really like is that it feels very roomy up here. This transmission tunnel is pretty thin, so both front seats, you've got a lot of room for your knees and a lot of headroom, especially in versions like this one that don't have a sunroof. You've got two cup holders up front as well, but they're not that big. They don't really fit our big water bottle, but they do fit the cup. Now we're here in the back seat where getting in and out is easy just like it is in the front thanks to wide door openings and a pretty low step-in height. Now speaking of easy, if you're in the market for a new car, be sure to head over to Edmunds. We've got all the tools to help you find a new one, including ones that will help you find the best price. Now, even though this back seat, it might be down on legroom compared to the other two on the spec sheet, in practice, it doesn't feel cramped back here at all. I'm just under 6 feet tall. This seat is set up where I like to drive. And as you can see, still plenty of legroom and pretty good headroom as well, especially again, in models without the sunroof. Now, loading in a car seat is going to be pretty easy. You've got, again, the wide door opening. These lower latch anchors, they could be a touch more accessible, but the tethers are easy to get to. And if you have a rear-facing seat, you can still fit someone in the front seat easily where they won't feel cramped. Now, on a road trip, you're also going to like that you get air vents back here, and you're also getting a pair of USB-C charging ports, but watch out because they don't charge as fast as the ones up front. When it comes to the cargo area, here is the amount of space that it has, but what you really need to know is that all three of these vehicles have a ton of room behind the back seat. As you can see, they swallow up luggage real easily, so if you're gonna use any of them for a road trip or even a trip to the airport, they're gonna handle all that luggage with no problem. Where they are a bit different though is when it comes to features, and unfortunately this RAV4, it basically has no features to speak of here in the cargo area. If you want to drop the back seats, you're gonna have to reach in pretty far to do so, but we do like that once they are folded down, you do get a completely flat load floor. We also like that the shape of the back liftgate here is very square, so it's going to be easy to load in large items, so plenty of space, just not a lot of features. It's an okay cargo area. Every car that we rate gets put through its paces here at our private test track. So that's where we've brought the RAV4 today, and we've brought you along with us. So we're gonna give you all those testing numbers, and I'm going to tell you just what it's like to drive this thing, not just out here, but also in the real world. Now, as a quick reminder, this RAV4 that we have out here, it should be at a disadvantage because it's the only front-wheel drive vehicle out of these three SUVs. However, here at the test track, numbers do not lie, and even though it's got 2 less wheels powering it, the RAV4 is actually pretty quick. It's quicker than the other two to 60 miles an hour by just over half a second. And around town, it also feels peppy. The days when getting a hybrid meant sacrificing performance for efficiency are over. For all three of these vehicles, the hybrid versions are the quicker ones. Now, even though it's quick, things are not perfect driving the RAV4. There is a pretty good amount of body roll, and this steering, it is quite numb. So you're not really gonna have fun driving this thing on a canyon road. But when it comes to the fundamentals, this thing nails those well enough that it's a really, really easy vehicle to just get behind the wheel of and drive every day. Now, when it comes to braking distance, this thing isn't a hero, but what I really like is that it's a very easy vehicle to stop smoothly, and you can't say that about every hybrid. The blend here between the physical brakes and the regenerative brakes that it uses to recharge the battery is seamless. You can't actually tell the difference when you're transitioning from one to the other, and that is what you really want as a hybrid. You just want a hybrid that drives like normal, and this thing definitely does that. Now, if I had a couple of complaints, one would be ride quality. I don't think it's quite as comfortable as the other two SUVs. And this cabin is also noticeably noisier. You're getting some wind noise off of the mirror here, and there's also more tire noise than I expected. And this engine, it does like to come in at about 2,000 to 3,000 RPM, which means that you get that kind of four-cylinder noise, and it's not the most pleasant, and that just kind of hurts the overall feeling of refinement once again. Now, in addition to that new infotainment system, this also debuts a new set of driver aids from Toyota, but I'm driving this thing around. The driver aids just kind of feel like the old one, and that's not a bad thing because they are pretty comprehensive and they all work as intended. The only thing that's kind of weird is proactive drive assist. And what that does is it can kind of detect if there are curves ahead of you or cars slowing down, and it will sort of preemptively slow you down a bit. Some people really don't like that. They just want full control over the vehicle all the time. And if you don't like it, you can just shut it off. Now, visibility in this vehicle is very good. It's got big windows all around and fairly thin pillars. And I like that little bonus window you're getting actually behind the C pillar. It makes the blind spot smaller. Now, this particular vehicle doesn't come with a surround view camera, but we were able to sample a few of the RAV4s that do. And the surround view camera is high resolution and gives a great view of whatever is around the RAV4. And if you go for a woodland model, you also get a few off-road views as well. Now, when it comes to efficiency, this thing is rated quite highly, up to 44 mpg combined for front-wheel drive versions, and for all-wheel drive, you're not giving up that much. You're only going down to 42 mpg combined, and that's because the all-wheel drive versions, all they do is add a little electric motor to the back axle. They actually only have 10 more horsepower, but again, that's fine because even the front-wheel drive version of this car ended up being quicker than the other two. All in all, this is a better vehicle than the one that it replaces. There's no doubt about that. I really enjoy the gains in technology, particularly in this instrument cluster. It's really cool to be able to see the maps view in real time. But again, it just feels like it's missing a little bit of refinement overall. I expected more when it came to quietness and comfort. And after driving in this thing more and more, I really don't love these seats. But that's going to wrap up our time here in the Toyota. Now it's time for the Honda. The CR-V is a sweet driving, high quality, practical crossover that's almost the ideal everyday do-it-all car. Almost. Honda just gets the details right. Now, just like all the other vehicles here, there are plenty of plastics on the CR-V's interior, but what Honda does really well is that all the points you're going to touch often, they all feel great. Like these climate controls with the metal knobs and even the volume, and even these stalks to move the air vents, they all feel tactile and they make cool clicky sounds in the best way. This screen up here is by far the smallest that you're going to get out of this group, and mounted here high up on the dash. It's in a spot where it's easy to see, but I do wish that it was a bit larger. Now, this being the top trim level of the CR-V Hybrid, you're getting the good infotainment system, the one with all the Google integration. So that means Google Maps, Google Voice Assistant, and also the Google Play Store, so you can download all your favorite apps right in the screen here. And of course, if you don't want to use those, wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay are along for the ride. Now, Toyota, they're stingy. They're only going to give you that 1 month free of data, but for Honda, you're getting actually 3 free years of data to power all this stuff, and that's great. The thing that we don't like, though, is that if you don't get the top trim level of the CR-V, you're getting locked out because you're going to actually get Honda's older infotainment system, which is pretty lame. In the Kia and the Toyota, no matter which one you buy, you're basically getting the same infotainment experience, and we like it when companies democratize those things, so if you get a lower trim level, you're not going to feel like you're missing out. Just like the other two vehicles, you're also getting a digital instrument cluster, but here in the Honda, it's a bit less customizable, even if it does do a good job of displaying information cleanly. Oh, and when it comes to charging, perfectly adequate wireless charging pad here, 2 USB-C ports, good enough. The control scheme in the CR-V is great. There's no touch anything for the climate controls, which we really like. And this little row of buttons right here, I also really appreciate. You get a physical home button for the infotainment system, so it's very easy to get out of CarPlay and Auto. That's one of my favorite features when it comes to controls. And again, on the steering wheel, all this stuff is labeled and very tactile, good to the touch. Front seat comfort in the Honda is also a plus. This feels very roomy, similar to the way that the Toyota does, and the seats themselves are fantastic. You're actually getting pretty good bolstering here, not something that you can say about most compact SUVs. And on our staff, we've got drivers from under 5 feet to well over 6 feet in height, and everyone says they're able to find a comfortable seating position here in the Honda. Now, small item storage, it's not exceptional like you're going to get in some of Honda's other SUVs, like the Passport, which recently just joined our 1-year road test fleet. But if I had to assign it a grade, I'd say it's good to pretty good. There's a good sized bin up here in front of the shifter where you can fit 2 phones. This is also where the wireless charging pad lives. And the center console bin, it's fairly deep and fairly wide. However, these cup holders, they're not the biggest. As you can see, they don't fit our bottle, but again, they do fit the cup. This cup just fits into everything, doesn't it? Okay, 90 degrees is crazy. Now, that might seem like a little thing, but those things actually make a big difference because you're getting in and out of a car pretty often. And with the doors flung way open, it just makes it easier, especially for people with limited mobility, to hop in. It also means it's easier to chuck a suitcase back here. And even more importantly, this is probably the easiest compact SUV to install car seats in, also because these lower latch anchors and the upper tethers are very easily accessible. Now, when you outgrow the car seat and you get big like me, you're also going to appreciate all that room here in the back seat. It does feel a touch roomier than the Toyota to me. And I also like that these rear seats, they can recline a bit too, so you can get really settled in for a long drive. Now, if seeing the CR-V makes you feel like your car is a bit of a tight squeeze, don't worry, we're here to help you out with that too. Just head over to Edmunds. We've got tools to help you get an instant cash offer on your current set of wheels. Now, when it comes to features, you're getting basically the same stuff you're finding in the RAV4. Air vents here, USB-C charging ports here, and a fold-down center armrest with 2 small cup holders. Good stuff. The nice thing about the CR-V's cargo area is that on all trims except for the base hybrid, you're going to get a power liftgate, and here on the Sport Touring, it's even hands-free thanks to a kick sensor, so if your hands are full, you can still open the thing without a problem. Now, on the spec sheet, a little less cargo area than the RAV4, and as you can see, these bags, it's a bit more of a snug fit, but still plenty of room. The sides do intrude a touch, so if you're trying to fit in larger items, they might not fit as well, and once you fold these rear seats down, you're not getting a completely flat load floor like you do in the Toyota. The other thing I don't like is you're also going to have to lean way into the car to put those seats down. There's no levers back here to help drop them easily or anything like that. Oh, and there's one more big problem when it comes to utility for the CR-V. If you're planning to tow with any of these vehicles, the CR-V just tows a lot less, only 1,000 pounds. If you care about how a vehicle drives, the responsiveness of the powertrain, the steering, the handling, how the suspension handles corners, then this group, you got to check out the CR-V. Now, if we're going to talk about performance, you might think that we would start with the powertrain, but here in the CR-V, we're actually going to start with this suspension, because in a class where being fun to drive isn't the top priority, this thing really nails it when it comes to the suspension. It feels way more athletic than the other two. It has better handling and much, much better steering. I'm actually getting a good amount of feedback through this wheel. They didn't have to go out and make a good driving SUV, but boy, am I happy that they did. And this doesn't seem to really come at the expense of comfort. The suspension is still pliant and it handles road imperfections really well. It's the best of both worlds. Other automakers could drive one of these and take notes. Now, that powertrain itself, it is no slouch. 8 seconds to 60 in this car, tying the Kia a touch slower than the Toyota, but we really like the responsiveness of this powertrain. There's basically no delay from giving it throttle and feeling forward motion as a result. And when you open it up, it feels plenty quick for passing and merging, and that's really what you're looking for. Now, that being said though, just like the Toyota, this thing can get pretty noisy when you put your foot in it, and not in a good way. Even though the engine can get pretty noisy, road noise and tire noise, they're pretty much kept to a minimum, and this thing also brakes smoothly, just like the RAV4. Very easy to just climb in, drive this thing every day. Now, when it comes to fuel economy, this thing isn't quite an overachiever like the Toyota is, but it is definitely better than the Kia. Now, when it comes to driver aids, the Honda is pretty well equipped. All the stuff that you would expect, adaptive cruise control, lane keeping, yada, 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 and it all works pretty well. However, this thing won't do automatic lane changes like the Kia does. But the big omission for this vehicle is the lack of a surround view camera. And that's something that pretty much every other compact SUV is going to offer. So it's a bummer that it's not here, even if natural visibility is pretty good. This CR-V, it's not without faults, and yes, there are a few things we've changed, but overall, this is a very good all-around vehicle. But is it the best? It's refreshing to come across a vehicle with very few weaknesses, and that is the Kia Sportage. Or is it? Yes, it is. When it comes to tech, check. The first thing that we're going to look at is this screen, because it really is the centerpiece of this interior. Now, this screen, bigger than the screen that you're getting in both of the other vehicles at 12.3 inches. But what we especially like is how well integrated it is into this dash, while still being high up where it's easy to see without having to take your eyes too far off of the road. The thing that we like about Kia's infotainment system in particular is that it's very shallow, and what that means is any of the features that you're going to need to find is generally only 1 or 2 screens away and organized very well. And of course, you're going to get wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto along for the ride as well. You're also getting a matching 12.3-inch digital instrument cluster here in this SX Prestige trim, but it's only available with the top trim, so if you get any of the other Sportage hybrids, you're going to miss out. Now, as much as we like this screen, there is another screen on this interior that might drive you a little bit crazy, and it's found right down here just below. Now, I sort of understand what Kia was going for. There's not a ton of space here to fit physical controls. So what they did was they basically put 2 sets of them into this one screen. So right here we have the controls for the media stuff, and if I want to adjust climate, I have to hit this button, and then it switches over to climate controls. And this is annoying for a few different reasons. One is you never seem to remember which one is highlighted, so you got to look down each time, and every time you do, it generally feels like it's on the wrong one. And number 2, we just don't love touch controls for all the climate stuff, especially when they're changing and moving around. And I know what you're thinking, at least you get knobs for the temperature, but again, if I switch that, now there are knobs for volume or for toggling through stuff. It's just a bit overcomplicated. Physical buttons for both sets of features here would be better. At least though, your buttons for the heated and ventilated seats, those are physical and very easy to reach. Speaking of heating and ventilation, it works very well on these front seats. They cool down and heat up very quickly. And I also like how comfortable they are. They're quite supportive. I'd put them just a touch behind the ones in the Honda on that regard. Now, when it comes to small item storage, you are getting a small bin up here. This houses the wireless charger as well as 2 USB-C charging ports, but it's definitely not as big as the ones in the other vehicles. And there's a center console bin here, but it's also smaller. So if those 2 are smaller, then why do I like the storage here so much? It's because this area is so flexible. Right now, it's in what I would call cup holder position. So there's 2 cup holders deployed, and they are big enough just to fit our cup. But if you need to put in something bigger like the bottle, it won't fit. You can actually fold the cup holder away, make a bigger area to fit the bottle, or fold them away to just make a larger storage space in general, giving you plenty of flexibility. The one problem that all 3 vehicles have though is if you have a purse or a small bag, there's nowhere to put it. It's going to either have to live on the seat or on the floor, and that kind of sucks. And if you want even more fine details like these to find out what car is right for you, stick with us at Edmunds, because on our site, we've got full ratings and reviews that dive into everything you would ever want to know about any vehicle ever, 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 ever. That's nice. This is my favorite back seat of the bunch, and it's not necessarily because it has more features than the other 2. You're of course getting 2 USB-C charging ports and air vents here on the back of the center console. Stop me if you've heard that before. It's more about how smartly they're arranged. So those USB-C charging ports, instead of living on the back of the center console here, they're actually integrated into the seat backs, which makes them easier to reach, and it's easier to not have cables running all over your floor. And if you look on the back of the headrests here, there's actually a little rubber piece right here, and that's because it's meant for you to put your phone there. So if your phone is here and you're charging it here, your cables are not in the way. This is also the only vehicle that we have here with a panoramic sunroof. You can of course get that on the top trim of the Toyota, but the Honda doesn't offer it at all. And these seats also recline, but the handle, it's down here where it's way easier to reach than the one up here in the Honda. All in all, this is a roomy and spacious back seat that is a great place to spend some time. And yes, as you might guess, plenty of room for a car seat, even a rear-facing one with lower latch anchors that are easier to access than the Toyota, but less easy than the CR-V, and an upper tether that you can grab with ease as well. The cargo space of the Kia is also well featured, as you might expect. It's got releases here for the back seats, so you can actually lower them without having to walk around the vehicle or reach way in, and that's very convenient. The other feature it has that the other two lack is this two-tier cargo floor. Now you can pull this lower part out and drop it down, and when you do, this Kia actually has the most cargo room of any of the SUVs here today. The reason that having two levels is nice is because when it's in the upper position, it actually forms a flat load floor with these back seats, just like we liked in the Toyota. Lots of space, lots of features, lots to like here in the business end of the Sportage Hybrid. If the RAV4's calling card is its efficiency and the CR-V's is that it's great to drive, the Kia's is that it's really, really comfortable. Now, this thing isn't as athletic as the Honda for sure. Its suspension is a bit more like the RAV4's. There's a decent amount of body roll here in the corners, but unlike the RAV4, its refinement level is really, really good for a small SUV. It is super, super comfortable on the road, handles road bumps with no problem at all, and never ends up feeling sloppy like the Toyota can sometimes. It's also notably quieter in here than the other two vehicles. Engine noise, road noise, tire noise, wind noise, those are all dealt with much better, and it keeps the cabin quiet. In the other two vehicles, you end up having to turn up your podcast a little bit when you're on the highway to be able to make out the words, but here in the Kia, no such problems. Now, this thing has an identical 0 to 60 miles an hour time as the Honda, 8 seconds, and around town, it feels plenty peppy. These Kia hybrids, they lean very hard on the electric motor at low speeds, and that makes them feel pretty quick from 0 to 15 miles an hour. Now, that transition between gas and electric power is not quite as smooth as the Toyota if we're nitpicking, but overall, I think you're just going to be able to get behind the wheel of this thing and be pretty happy with how it drives. Now, there is a front-wheel drive version of the Sportage Hybrid that returns pretty excellent fuel economy, 42 mpg combined, but the all-wheel drive versions, they don't reach those kind of lofty numbers, and this is actually going to be the least efficient of the three vehicles that we have here today. When it comes to driver aids, just like the other two, very well equipped. Even if you get a base trim model, you're getting adaptive cruise control that works down to a stop, lane keeping. This thing has a few safety features that the others don't though, so it will do automatic lane changes when you're using the adaptive cruise control on the highway in some trims. And it's also got a blind spot monitor, and that means that if you activate your turn signal, it'll actually show you a live view of what's in your blind spot here in the instrument cluster. That is great. Now, that's not 100% necessary because visibility in this vehicle is actually pretty good. And backing that up, you've also got an excellent surround view camera system. We're very happy with the safety features here in the Kia and how they operate. The Kia makes such a strong case for itself in other ways that even if it drove terribly, I could probably convince myself or someone else that it's still worth buying. So the fact that it's pretty good from behind the wheel just builds on all the things that this vehicle does well. We lauded the CR-V for being a pretty good all-around vehicle, but this Sportage Hybrid, it is just as good of an all-around vehicle and probably better in most respects than the Honda. It's just a really impressive performance from a vehicle that's also going to deliver when it comes to value, as we're about to find out. Before we get into value and share our verdict, please, we would ask if you've been enjoying our videos or find them helpful to toss us a like and subscribe. They go a long way towards helping us make more of them. And if you have any questions about any of these vehicles or an idea for a video that you'd like to see us make in the future, let us know in the comments below, because for better or worse, we read them all. Value is always an important consideration, but for family vehicles like these, it's extra important. We'll start here with the RAV4, which has one big catch, and that is that we don't know final pricing for this vehicle yet. All Toyota has told us is that it will start in the low 30,000s, which is a bit less than the previous RAV4 Hybrid, but that's because that vehicle came with all-wheel drive standard, and this one is, of course, front-wheel drive. Now, this XLE model is the one that we would wager that most people would want, and if we had to guess, we think it's going to come in at around 36 or 37,000, which is about what you're paying for the mid-grade of the Kia. For that money, we think you're getting pretty good value, especially when it comes to technology, because that instrument cluster, it's standard on all RAV4 models, as is that dash cam, which is again, a class exclusive feature for the Toyota. At the top end though, there will be a limited model, but we don't really think that that one is worth it. Its materials and overall refinement doesn't quite match the increase in price. This one right here, the XLE, it's the Goldilocks for the RAV4 lineup. When it comes to warranty, it's really nothing special for the Toyota. 3 years, 36,000 miles of basic coverage, 5 years, 60,000 miles on the powertrain, and 2 years, 25,000 miles of free maintenance, which works out to a value of about 500 bucks. Now, if you're watching this in the future and you want to find out the actual pricing in this vehicle, you can head over to Edmunds, where we will update that, of course, as soon as we get it via a link in the description. Now, unlike this Toyota, the CR-V that we have, this is a fully loaded sport touring model. And this is actually the most expensive vehicle that we have here today. Now, it's also going to cost you more to get into a hybrid version of the CR-V. And while we like how nice it is inside, we like the little touches like the metal knobs and just an overall feeling of well put togetherness, the problem with the CR-V is that it's just simply under-featured when compared to these two competitors. It has no ventilated seats, it's got no panoramic moonroof, it's got no surround view camera, it's got no dash cam, it's got no big screen, and again, if you don't pony up for this most expensive model, you are getting an inferior infotainment experience. And when it also comes to its warranty, it's nothing special. It basically matches the Toyota, except you get about half of the free maintenance. While we appreciate the Honda's refinement and attention to detail, it simply can't match these other two when it comes to value, especially the Sportage Hybrid, which is a value monster. Now, this is a fully loaded SX Prestige model, and believe it or not, it's actually $2,000 less than the Honda, and it's going to be about the price of what we think a RAV4 Limited will be when it's all said and done. And it's not just at the top end that the Kia is gonna offer you value. It's cheaper to get into this than the other two. There's a front-wheel drive model that's pretty basic, but it's gonna give you better fuel economy, and it still comes with that big touchscreen, so it's not under-featured for its price in the low 30,000s. Really, the only thing that this thing is missing versus the RAV4 is a dash cam, but other than that, we think this interior is actually a big step up from the Toyota when it comes to materials and comfort, and especially those front seats. I could sit in those for hours. And this thing is also going to have a much better warranty than the other two vehicles. 5 years, 60,000 mile basic warranty, 10 years, 100,000 miles on the powertrain. Both of those are the best in the business. And since these are hybrids, we're not going to be able to get out of here without talking fuel economy, where the Toyota has an advantage. 44 mpg combined for front-wheel drive models, 42 mpg combined for all-wheel drive models. And we drove this one actually back from Arizona to LA at interstate speeds, and it still got 40 mpg on the dot, so we're pretty sure that in mixed driving, it will hit those figures. Now, the Honda is rated lower at 37 mpg combined, and the Kia even lower still at 35 mpg combined. Both numbers are for all-wheel drive versions, and what that means in dollars and cents is that by choosing the Toyota, you'll save about $150 on gas a year versus the Honda, and $250 versus the Kia. But I would say that the Kia is so much nicer inside that I might pay that price to be able to sit in there rather than in here for a year. And now it's time to talk scores. Let's bring them up. The new RAV4 takes the win in efficiency, as you might expect, and its new and improved screen offerings help it to tie with the Kia on technology. For the CR-V, its only win comes in comfort. We do love those front seats and the ride quality. But we'd also note that if how your car drives is important to you, this one is the most fun from behind the wheel. And I have a soft spot for those metal knobs. But this board is filled with wins for the Kia. It wins most of our categories, with its biggest advantages coming in value and cargo. So while this RAV4 has definitely taken huge strides over the last one, and it's finally eclipsed its closest rival, the CR-V. Toyota didn't do quite enough to make it our favorite small hybrid SUV. For that, you're still going to have to turn to the Kia Sportage Hybrid, a worthy winner indeed. Thanks for watching.